Shouldn't skipping to payday be as easy as skipping to the next song? Introducing MyPay from Chime. Get up to $500 of your pay before payday. Get paid when you save with MyPay. Start at Chime.com. Eligibility requirements apply. Credit limits range from $20 to $500. Provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. and Stride Bank N.A.
Is your cold making it hard for you to get to sleep and leading to a bad morning? Switch to Mucinex Night Shift for fast, powerful, nighttime multi-symptom cold and flu relief. Mucinex Night Shift fights your worst nighttime symptoms to help you get to sleep and wake up ready to go. Mucinex Night Shift. It's comeback season. Use as directed.
Welcome to Dear Prudence. I'm your guest, Prudence Ashley C. Ford. Today we'll be answering questions from letter writers who are looking for a way to address something that isn't working. One from a sibling that's trying to understand a boundary, one from a parent worried about how their spouse speaks to them in front of their child, and one from someone feeling deep regret about a lost friendship. Here to help me out today is H. Alan Scott. H. Allen is a comedian, a senior culture writer at Newsweek, and an expert when it comes to the Golden Girls. Can confirm. Heavy pod listener, me, right here. Welcome to the show, H. Allen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I often give unsolicited advice, so I think this is a perfect opportunity for me, a perfect podcast for me to be on. But I'm also so glad to meet another Golden Girls fan. I fan out on Golden Girls fans.
Me too. We're everywhere though. You know, that's the beautiful thing about the Golden Girls fan community. We find each other.
Even in bathrooms. That happened to me
Even
recently.
in bathrooms.
And I was like, sir, I have something to do here. But yes.
Just a second, sir.
Yes.
We can
talk about it. Let me wash my hands.
Yes. Before we get started, I'd like to ask you a question that we ask all our guests. What is one piece of unsolicited advice that you would give the world unprompted?
This is strange, and it really only applies to people who urinate standing up. But I do I do think that so I'm obviously a queer homosexual person, and I say obviously because look at me. But there's my boyfriend and I, there's a toilet seat thing, and the top seat, I don't think in relationships where people stand up, I don't think that ever needs to go down, because there are times at nighttime where, and I'm not old, but the body is older than I actually am. And sometimes bending down to lift that top seat just drives me insane. And and the body doesn't want to bend in that way, especially at that hour. You know, it's had a long day. And so my unsolicited advice is just get rid of the top. I don't think I don't think most people are worried about dropping things in toilets that we need that top cover in order for the seat. You know what I mean? I think that top seat is largely irrelevant. That top cover to the toilet, I don't know the purpose of it unless rats are jumping out of the toilet. I don't think that we need that top cover to block that the seat part. Just have the seat part. Keep the seat part down. That's important. Right. But the top cover, the lid for the toilet seat, I don't think you need it. And so my unsolicited advice is get rid of that top cover.
Get rid of the lid. That is our unsolicited advice from H. Alan Scott.
Rid
yourself of the lid.
I've been thinking a lot about it.
You're done with it. My unsolicited advice is that if you are in the kind of mixed relationship of sit down pee person and stand up pee person, just have separate bathrooms.
Yes.
That's my advice.
I would support that.
Figure it out. And have separate bathrooms. If you can. You can.
Of course.
Okay. H. Allen and I will dive into your questions after a short break.
Introducing MyPay from Chime, a revolutionary new way to get paid. Let's say new dates to your favorite band's sold-out tour drop Tuesday, but you get paid Friday. Life doesn't wait for payday. With MyPay from Chime, you can get up to $500 of your pay before payday. No interest, no credit check, no mandatory fees. MyPay. Get paid when you say. Start at Chime.com. Eligibility requirements apply. Credit limits range from $20 to $500. $2 fee to get funds instantly. Provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. and Stride Bank N.A.
Hey, it's me, the Quenchies. I'm that late afternoon craving you just can't shake. Wait, What's that? Welch's Grape Aid? No!
Made with real fruit and no added sugar, nothing answers the call of the Quenchies like Grape Aid. Got the Quenchies? Grab a Grape Aid in your juice aisle.
Welcome back. You're listening to Dear Prudence. I'm Ashley C. Ford, and I'm here with H. Alan Scott. Let's get started with our first letter, titled Recovering Codependent.
I think my sister might have a personality disorder, and I'm wondering if there's anything I can do to encourage her to seek treatment. I'm worried about her. She seems to be getting worse as the years go by, and also she's driving me nuts. I'm working on setting better boundaries with her, but it's causing an increase in conflict, and she does not handle conflict well. She gets upset and anxious when she perceives that she is in trouble, or if she thinks she's being rejected or abandoned. This shuts down every difficult conversation I try to have with her, as her emotions hijack the conversation, as she then needs me to reassure her and basically drop whatever issue I was trying to raise. I have spent my adult life recovering from my own codependency tendencies, and her behavior keeps tugging at my codependent instincts. She believes herself to be completely alone in the world because myself and others in her life repeatedly fail to prioritize her needs over our work and child-rearing commitments. She's not married or partnered. She has no core sense of self and can't make decisions without a lot of input and support from others. At the same time, she steamrolls over me all the time in her attempts to control her environment to manage her anxiety. She does not have the self-awareness to reflect on the ways that her actions continue to isolate her from others and push people away. I would like her to get the help she needs, but the last time I tried to ask her to work on herself because she had seriously upset me and I hope she could learn to avoid repeating this specific behavior, she became devastated. And I had to spend a week assuring her that I'm not mad at her. I was mad, but felt compelled to suppress this since she was spiraling. She took 0 steps to repair the damage she had done by hurting me in the first place, and took no responsibility for learning how to do better in the future. Do you see any path forward for me to encourage her to pursue treatment for any of this? Or do I just need to accept that I can't make her change? I can keep setting boundaries to protect myself, but it really bothers me that setting these boundaries seems to prove her point that nobody cares about her, based on her criteria of what she thinks care should look like.
H. Alan Scott.
I have thoughts.
Give me your thoughts, please.
I have thoughts. So I'm experiencing something similar with a friend recently about the inability to understand or how to navigate complicated emotional reactions to things that should be pretty rational and normal adult interactions, where you'll have something and then they'll react in a very emotionally dramatic way. And one of the things that I have found through many years of therapy and having a distant daddy, in my life, who was just away, is that I've had to learn how to the codependency thing, I get it, but like I've had to learn that I can't self-diagnose other people, and I can't use my own internal self-diagnosis in my reaction to other people saying that they need to go get help, they need to go do this is what's wrong with them. It kind of goes back to when I was in school. I was like a peer helper, like in elementary school, where like you would help peers, but you were too. Of course we were Golden Girls. And so like we learned how to communicate through those kind of things. And like one of the literally like foundational things that I learned as a child is you never want to lead with you statements. You always want to lead with I statements. I feel this way. This is me. I can't judge you in how you react because your feelings are valid, everything. So part of me is like, and it's harder with family, and I get it, but like part of me is like, gotta be an adult here. You can't change them. You can't make them do what they're gonna do or go in the direction that you think they need to go in. All you can do is either be there for them and deal with everything that they are and the person that they are and hope that things change, or set boundaries for yourself and say, I gotta check out of this, just like I had to check out of my daddy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I had to. Sometimes you gotta check out, and it can be hard, but you gotta take that adult self-care direction and say, "This ain't for me. I'm gonna go
Mhm.
here and watch 3 episodes of The Golden Girls and calm down because you're stressing me out. Have a great night. Bye.
I know. If you need to work out some of that frustration, just only watch episodes that include Stanley.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
next thing you know,
You're gonna learn
you
something.
you're going to learn something and you're going to have some amazing insults in the
Mhm.
back of your mind that have just
Mhm.
been lobbed like grenades in his
Mhm.
general direction like Dorothy.
Mhm.
Um
Exactly.
the thing that I'm hearing here that concerns me is that there is a lot of because this happens because she reacts this way. I am having a hard time holding my boundaries, which is
Yeah.
normal. It
Yes.
is very normal to have a hard time upholding your boundaries when it's someone that you love, someone that you care about, when you've probably been raised in an environment and in a family system where love and annoyance, or love and frustration, or love and accountability can't exist in the same place, or that you're taught that they don't exist in the same place, that when you hold someone accountable, you're not loving them, that when you take space from somebody, that is the same as not loving them. It's not true.
Yeah.
And you really got to think about what actions are loving actions, not just toward your sister or your sibling, but also toward you. You're responsible for pointing some of that compassion and kindness and care in your own direction. And I really need you to ask yourself that as you are seeking, in a lot of ways, it seems like to fix her, what are you neglecting in you?
Mhm.
What are you not paying attention to in you? What boundaries are you not upholding? What values are you not embodying when you are trying to protect the image or the perception of your sister
Mhm.
more than her reality? Because you
Yeah.
can't do anything about her reality. That's all up to her at
Yeah.
this point. And it's a particularly emotionally dangerous place to be, in my experience, to have a relationship with the person who's always saying, nobody cares and
Yeah.
nobody wants to be around me and everybody abandons me. It is particularly dangerous to be the last person that that person has, or
Yeah.
the last person that they're holding on
It's
to.
exhausting.
It's exhausting, and it also warps your perception a little bit,
Mhm.
where now everything's more heightened. Maybe it would have been easier to walk away,
Mhm.
3 or 4 friends ago,
Yeah.
but now you're the last one. That
Mm.
intensity, it just calls for codependency. It calls for enmeshment. It calls for those kinds of behaviors where you have to abandon yourself in order to perceive yourself putting out the effort to save
Yeah.
this other person, effort
Yeah.
that they won't put into themselves. And you just can't do that forever.
Also, maybe look at, I mean, I think when you get into the habit of seeing someone one way, it's really hard to unsee them in that way. And I
Yes.
think sometimes when people, I mean, and listen, I'm a complicated, colorful person who is
Mhm.
dramatic and says things that sometimes are over the top and ridiculous. And
Mhm.
I've made a career of it because people, because people encourage me to do these stupid things. Like my friends will, they know I don't like carrying things because I'm clumsy, so everyone carries things for me, or like, and then I make a thing of it because it is the thing, and I know that's funny and stuff. But what I'm saying is, maybe this person just needs to be celebrated for the uniqueness that they are and how they respond emotionally. And if they
Mhm.
feel celebrated for being maybe an overly emotional or dramatic person, maybe they won't feel so alone. And because
Yeah.
maybe they're being told that their emotions are too much, or they're too much, or whatever it is. And I don't know, sometimes I'm like, maybe we just need to celebrate weird people to be weird.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
There's an emotional intensity sometimes that I think we automatically put into a category of negative behavior
Yes.
or of malicious behavior.
Mhm.
And a lot of the time, I find that those people aren't necessarily negative or malicious. It's that in general, others don't know how to react to them immediately.
Exactly.
They don't know what to do. These people don't adhere to the script that
Yeah.
everybody else feels like we're all reading together.
Hmm.
And it makes people uncomfortable, but it does not make them wrong.
Yeah.
And if you love someone, if you really care about someone, um, you have an opportunity there to challenge
Mhm.
your sense of what's okay and what's not okay based on how someone else might react to it.
Yeah, and what's normal and not normal too, because I mean, I'm thinking
Yeah,
about myself. If I hadn't been celebrated for my uniqueness and over the topness, if you will, maybe I would have
right.
just been a crazy, emotional, depressed person who felt weird and different and didn't know how to celebrate the weirdness in me, or
Yeah.
like my emotions or whatever it is. So I
You'd
don't know,
also
maybe.
probably spend a lot of time feeling in trouble,
Yeah,
like
yeah, or
subject,
wrong, or like,
or wrong or
yeah,
bad.
totally,
You
totally,
know, if
yeah,
it's upsetting you because, and I think this is like my main point with this reader. If it's upsetting you because there's actual harm being caused,
of
there's
course,
real conflict that is disrupting your life in a way that you are not interested in
yeah,
maintaining, and you also don't want to have a confrontation where this person ends up feeling bad, then you got to keep some distance. Those are the options.
yeah,
But if it's just that this person is intense in a way that makes you uncomfortable,
mhm,
um, and that makes you feel like, you don't want to be associated with the intense person, or you don't want to feel like this person is overwhelming you and overwhelming your life, then that's less of a, do I need to not be around this person? Do I need to get this person in treatment? Does this person need help? And I need to reflect on whether or not this person actually has a problem,
mhm.
um, or if I just think they need to be fixed,
Yeah,
which are
or if they're
two different things.
not acting the way I would act, and you can't
Yeah,
expect people to act the way you're gonna act because they're not you.
you can't. I
Yeah,
agree with that.
yeah.
All right. Our next question is titled Love Her, but This Needs to Stop.
My wife has a habit of correcting my sentence structure and grammar in front of our child. Last night while eating dinner, she corrected me again. Our son asked why we can't have Thanksgiving at his aunt's house. I said, we can't because Annie's in Phoenix. She corrected me and said, you're confusing our son and should have said she will be in Phoenix because she's not there now. She also likes to correct me for not using verse and verses correctly. I admit I struggle with grammar, and she is a speech pathologist. What a match, huh? In all the etiquette books I've read, it says an adult should not correct another adult's grammar, and it's especially hurtful to do it in front of one's child. Who's right?
Ooh, I relate. I relate. Okay, I'm on both sides here. I have to
Me too.
admit.
Me too. Because on the one hand, I think maybe it's the Capricorn in me
Mm,
that goes, "Hey, what a wonderful opportunity for real life
learning.
instruction
Yeah,
and real life learning,"
yeah.
you know. But then there's a part of me that thinks about, what if I were not? What if I don't picture myself as the
Mhm.
person who's correcting, and instead picture myself as the person who is being corrected,
Yeah.
and suddenly I
Mhm.
begin to understand how deeply disruptive and agitating this
Yes.
would be. I
Yes.
would love to hear your thoughts.
Well, so first off, because the children are the future, I'm going to start with the
Mhm.
child. So, like, I get the impetus for, wanting to make sure that the child understands the correct grammar because it's teaching, and you can
Mhm.
learn things, and you know, whatever. But I listen. I grew up with a mother who would sometimes spend a minute trying to get the right name of a child out.
Mhm.
She had lots of kids, so whatever. And she'll sometimes confuse words and things or whatever. And then I became an adult who is that same person who
Mhm.
does that as well, who sometimes says things and means one thing, but it comes out in a different way. And then someone will correct me, and then I'm like, well, you know what I meant. And it becomes this sort of thing that I am the person who confuses things or says things incorrectly. And I partly think it's my charm, but that's because I'm thinking of myself.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know if others are just really annoyed by it or not. And I get that it can be, and listen, like, again, I have made a career out of talking. So like it has clearly worked for me. But at the same time, like I understand the need for a kid to hear things in a certain way, but I think maybe that there's a different way of doing it. Like I always feel like there is never a situation, and listen, I love a hot take and I can be real sassy and I can come back with a nice shady moment. But I fundamentally believe that if you are being, I hate to be curse here, but if you are being a dick to be a dick and say things in a way that is without caring or how someone else is going to feel after the thing that you said, well then you're the dick and you shouldn't do that. And you should not lead with meanness because it doesn't get anybody anywhere. There's a way of communicating the thing you want to say without being a dick. And so I think maybe the wife is being a little bit of a dick in this situation, and perhaps she could communicate to the kid, still teach the kid something, but communicate it in a way that doesn't put someone else down or make someone else feel lesser than, you know?
Right. Yes. And I think, what we're missing here, or what I feel like the mother in this context might be missing ultimately, is just that it's what there's a there's an environmental or a situational context where obviously it makes sense that we are in learning mode, we are in kid focused mode, we are looking for opportunities to teach and instruct and correct and all of those things, right? And then there's just like trying to sit down and have dinner.
Yes.
Like just trying to have a meal and not necessarily, and a conversation, and not necessarily wanting in that moment for that conversation to become an instructional moment that relies on you having a pretty good amount of grace as you are
Yeah.
being corrected in front of your child, which is hard for most people. Whether it should be or not, it's tough for most people to be corrected in front of their child, especially when it's unexpected. Um, and with your partner, you're supposed to be partners in this moment. You're supposed to be same team when it comes to the kid. Why can't she just say beforehand, hey, while we're at dinner tonight, me and the kid have been talking about this particular aspect of grammar, or this particular aspect of, speech or speaking well. And if it comes up, or, if one of us, happens to say something like that, I might mention it and show him that this is what we're talking about. This is what we were trying to learn earlier. This is an example of it. Fine. You just have to make sure your partner is on the same team as you. I think more than hurt, he probably feels blindsided.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I get it. I totally 1000%. And just like, I just never get the intent, the need to sort of make someone feel bad for
Yeah.
anything. I'm not that person. Like that doesn't, behind their back, great. I'll do it. I'll gossip to friends all day long. Listen, I
That's
will
where
like,
it belongs.
yes, I will be mean when no one's
Yes.
watching, but like
Yes.
there's just no need to sort of be
Right.
like that. I don't know. Yeah.
If it was the only way for the kid to learn, I would understand, but I think we can both agree it's not.
It's not.
There are
It's
other
not.
ways for the
Yeah.
child to learn. This way obviously makes your parenting partner deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If you think it's super important to correct their speech or to make them speak a certain way, and I'm talking about the adult partner here,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but you were a speech pathologist when you met them, or became one while you were with them. You've known
Mhm.
about this the whole time. You've known
Yeah.
that that
Yeah.
they struggle with grammar.
Yeah.
Um, and probably that they have some insecurity about that.
Of
And I think
course.
that exploiting that, even in the name of setting an example or instructional education for a child, with someone who's not comfortable having something they're insecure
Mhm.
about be exploited that way, it's mean. It's
Yeah,
mean and
it's
it's
mean.
unnecessary.
And it's also what I say all the time with, and listen, I don't have kids, so I can't really speak to that, but
Mhm.
whenever parents or whenever people freak out about something with a kid that is sort of banal, I always go back to the incredible Annette Bening film and just say, the kids are gonna be all right. You don't have to do it in that. The kids are gonna be fine.
Yes. Yes, we
Yeah.
feel that. We feel that. And Mark Ruffalo is their real dad.
Yes. Yes. Oh, and then I'm gonna slowly drink my wine as I look at Julianne Moore with judgment, because I'm not saying it out loud.
Full
The judgment
judgment.
is in the eyes. See, I'm not being
Full
mean out
judgment.
loud. Demure.
That's the way
Very
it's supposed
demure.
to be. You're listening to Dear Prudence, and when we come back, we'll be reading more of your letters. Stay with us.
If you send hey, they send hey. But with opening moves on Bumble, you can get to better chats faster. Because if you send most underrated summer activity, they send eating spicy soup in front of the air conditioner on full blast. And that's something you can work with. You're still making the first move, but you can choose a question or write your own to get sent to all your matches. So you can relax and see what they come back with. Download Bumble and try it for yourself.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
Welcome back to Dear Prudence. I'm Ashley C. Ford, sitting in for Jenée, and I'm here with my guest, H. Alan Scott, to answer your letters. The next one is titled, Too Late to Apologize?
In high school, I had a pen pal. Yep, pen and paper, who adopted me as a big sister of sorts, though she is only a few years younger than me. We wrote lots of letters, exchanged pictures, etc. We met in person a few times with our parents around. She is a Korean-born adoptee with white parents. I'm your average white lady. We kept in touch through college and into adulthood, but about 12 years ago, I butted into a Twitter conversation she was having with someone else, misread the tone, and said some things that were at best tone deaf and at worst racist. She tried, to her credit, to teach me that what I was saying was stupid. Long story short, I was a jerk, and she rightfully blocked me. I've grown since then, and I cringe every time I think about it. Every so often, I think about her, wonder how she's doing, and wonder whether I should reach out and apologize. I'm sure the time to do that was 12 years ago, but in your opinion, is there any value in doing so? So long after the fact. I'm sure in her life, I was just another disappointing white person, but I really hated that I acted that way.
I don't like the adjectives that this person is using to describe themselves. Disappointing, average. Like, that is not, I understand where they're coming from, and it
Right.
comes from a deep-rooted feel of sense of shame, really,
Yes.
in past behavior. But don't think of yourself like that. Even if you did past bad things, you're still a person that it deserves love and value, and yeah. So have some love for yourself a little bit.
I'm going to agree with that. You do have to have love for yourself. And that is why I'm going to say it's really important not to make it anybody else's problem,
Yes.
to absolve you or forgive you or even respond to you when you have behaved in a way or presented yourself in a way that was probably deeply wounding to their sense of trust in the friendship, in the longstanding pen pal friendship, but also probably just heartbreaking. And I think, as somebody who, listen, I am a very, very black girl who grew up on the very, very black side of town in Indiana, which is not very, very, very black.
Yeah.
So as I've gotten older, I've dealt with a lot of white folks, folks who just never heard certain things, were around certain things, had access to different concepts regarding equality or racism. And so I know that sometimes people just mess up. Like they just say the wrong thing. They just do the wrong thing, and that they might feel devastated by it. They might feel deeply embarrassed. Like it becomes terrible. But in that moment, in the aftermath, in my experience, the best thing you can do is just change.
Yeah.
Just change your behavior. You don't need to come back to me and ask for forgiveness
Yep.
unless we are very close.
Mhm.
You don't need to, make amends personally to me or convince me that you're different or anything, because
Mhm.
it's not really about me.
Yeah.
When you say things like that, in a lot of these circumstances, when people said things like that when I was growing up or when I was in school, when they said harmful or harsh things or racist things, I never really felt like, oh man, this person must hate me or this
Mhm.
person must deeply dislike me,
Mhm.
or everybody like me. It was often just this heartbreaking moment of realizing that it never occurred to them in some cases that that
Yeah.
would hurt you.
Yeah.
And in other cases, that now that they've realized it has hurt you, their main goal is either convincing you that it shouldn't hurt
Yeah.
or that it's not their fault that it hurts. They don't actually want to just be sorry for hurting you and for
Yeah.
breaking your heart.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's probably what happened here. And I
Yeah.
think that's why, if she's got you blocked,
Yeah.
I know it hurts when you think about it, when you feel
Of
the regret
course.
of what you've done. But inside of that regret is the lesson you've learned that has probably allowed you to grow and rethink things and be better.
Mhm.
Um, so don't have regret, in my opinion, for
Yeah.
that moment.
Or devalue yourself or
Or
like
devalue
yeah.
yourself. It doesn't
Yeah.
help anybody.
Yeah.
Have you ever had somebody, let me ask you this,
Mhm.
H. Allen Scott, have you ever had someone say or do the quote unquote wrong thing in front of you,
Mhm.
probably double down
Mhm.
in some way?
Yeah.
And you're realizing that their reaction to having hurt you
Mhm.
is to then be angry at themselves to such a degree and in such a way that you are no longer
Yeah.
the focus
Yeah.
of what happened. And your experience has once again been completely eclipsed by their reaction. Have you experienced
Oh,
that?
I've not only experienced it, but I think I've been on the other side of it too. I've been the
Yeah,
person. And I think listen, I think that as a white American who belongs to a marginalized community as a queer person and Jewish person, so like it's sort of like you're but then again, very different experiences from being even queer, Jewish, or anything in my past to being a person of color in the United States of America and any color.
right,
Doesn't matter what walk of life you are. Racism is racism and it fits in the capacity that it does in horrible ways in this country and our culture. Not even just in the United States, all over the world. But
right.
that said, as a white person, I recognize that I did and have. We all, white people in general, have things that we have done or said in our lives that come from places not necessarily always out of malice or anger or racism or anything, but it's because of our learned experiences. It's because
Right.
of where we've come from, and then we react sometimes in a defensive way because we feel like we're being put on. We're being called something or we're being accused of something. When in reality, we're not seeing the obvious thing in front of us, which is if we just shut up and listen, and then we can grow and then we can learn. And those are the good things. And that, years, literally hundreds of years of oppression in this country
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of unlearning. And it is not
Yes,
on the responsibility of the people who were persecuted to teach us or validate us and our feelings and how we should act and go forward. We
for
need to
sure.
do, we, meaning white people, I'm now the leader of all white people, but we need to recognize that we can grow and learn. And yes, listen, I talk for a living, like I said. So like, even I am sure have said, and I know I have said and done things that I would look back on and cringe about, sort of the way I speak of someone or the way I speak of a group or the way I speak of a thing or a topic or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. And yet you can't go back, and because it's not the responsibility of the people you hurt to make amends.
Right.
You can't go back and do that. But what you can do is live authentically, listening, learning, and going forward, and be, like you said, the change agent to then allow change to happen. Because once that change domino starts, then hopefully they keep falling. Because if
Right.
everyone agrees to learn and change, well, then we get to a place where we can have actual change in this country, like
Right.
electing a woman of color president, or
Right.
like lots of different things can happen, or even just the simplest things of maybe we don't see people in XYZ kind of way, and we're able to embrace things in different ways. So yeah,
Mhm.
I think you can't devalue yourself based on past experiences and the bad things that you feel that you have done, which they may or may not be bad, but that is all
Right.
perceived within you. It's not the responsibility of the other party to value you and show you that you have
Yes.
value. You have to give yourself value. And so,
Yes.
yeah, I just think we need to be able to, as white people, just to be able to shut up and be like, yeah, I don't need to be on the defense here. It's okay. It's
Right.
okay that you feel this way about me. I may even disagree with you, but I don't
Mhm.
need to come back at you and try to teach you that
Right.
I'm somehow right in this. What good would that do? So
Yeah.
just chill out, honey. Chill out.
Just chill
Reckon
out.
Go forward, do something good. Don't go, join Korean Americans for justice. Like you
You
can if you
don't need
want, but like you don't even need to be the leader of the parade. You can just exist and do the right thing going forward, and that
Yes.
is enough.
Yes. Like, I mean, you've gotten the lesson.
Yeah.
You know, she got her lesson 12 years ago.
Yeah. And also think about in her situation, her friend's situation, that sure, it probably hit harder because you two were close, but
Mhm.
also that is language and things that have been said to this person
Right.
multiple times from strangers and love and potentially people they're close with over the years. So like you weren't even the first person to hurt this person. So that person is just saying, you know what?
Yes.
This is a boundary and I'm not accepting it. And I'm saying no to this.
Right.
And no judgment, but you can't do this to me, and shutting it down by blocking you. And so
Let
that's
it go.
okay.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Because I mean, it's part of the heartbreak that they feel
Yeah.
like they had to add you to the long list
Yeah.
of people who have behaved this way toward them
Mhm.
or who have acted this way to people in the community of people who look like them.
Yeah.
That's the heartbreaking part is that, you know, it's looking at someone and or thinking about someone and thinking to yourself, should I have known better?
Yeah.
Should I have
Yeah.
never let them in at all?
Yeah.
And not knowing whether or not that's true, what you
Yeah.
missed, what you didn't see. There's probably some regret on both sides, and it's something that both people have to work out individually on
Mhm.
their own.
Yep.
If you come back together, it's probably not going to be because you reached out while they still had you blocked.
Yeah.
It'll probably be one day you'll look them up, curious about what
Mhm.
they're up to, and you'll find that you're unblocked,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
then
Or
that's
the
like a first
universe will
step.
work out in the way that it
Or the
does.
universe will work it
Let it
out
work
the way it
out.
does.
Let it work out.
But let them have their space. You broke their heart.
Yeah.
Okay, those are all the questions we have for this week. It's been fun. So
It has
fun. I'm
been.
so into H. Allen Scott even
Oh,
more
I'm
than I
so
was
into you.
before.
Oh my god. Shut
It's been so
up.
fun. And I really hope it's been helpful. Thank you so much, H. Allen, for being here. I so appreciate your time and your
Yes.
really, really thoughtful responses to these
Oh.
questions.
Well, thank you. All I know how to do is respond. That's all I do. Don't ask me to change a tire. I got nothing
They're
else for you.
fantastic.
Yeah.
They're fantastic responses. Put them in your pocket. Don't let anybody else have them unless they pay you. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
You can listen to H. Allen on the Parting Shots podcast from Newsweek. And if you love the Golden Girls as much as we love the Golden Girls, which you should, you can listen to Out on the Lanai, a Golden Girls podcast which he co-hosts with Carrie Doherty. New episodes on Mondays and Thursdays. And you can hear me probably in the background of somebody else's Instagram story. Check us out. Do you need help getting along with partners, relatives, coworkers, and people in general? Write to Prudie. Go to slate.com/Prudie. That's slate.com/Prudie. The Dear Prudence column publishes every Thursday. Dear Prudence is produced by Se'era Spragley Ricks and Jenée Desmond-Harris, with production help and extra thanks to Maura Currie, Cameron Drews, and Ononye. Editorial help from Paola De Verona. Daisy Rosario is senior supervising producer, and Alicia Montgomery is Slate's VP of audio. And I'm your guest Prudence, Ashley C. Ford. That's all for this episode, but join us on today's episode of Prudie Plus, where H. Allen and I answer a question from someone who isn't sure how to interact with a friend after a celebrity death. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts by clicking Try Free at the top of our show page, or visit slate.com/Prudie Plus to get access wherever you listen. The episode is available for you to listen to right now. We'll see you there.